Welcome back to our immersion series. So we're here to stem from where we came from in an earlier episode in the immersion series. We'll be looking at building off creating space in the body. Right? Before we looked at the distance between the belly and the earth, we looked at engagement between muscles with spreading out, with really reaching up. And this time we're going to apply that to the major muscles of the body and look how certain auxiliary muscles can help us in forward folds, backward bends, twists, really any of our physical yoga asana postures. And so we'll be getting into specific muscles, and later on in the episode, we'll look at the bandhas, which are the foundation of our Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. So we'll start this episode with a nice Om in the center of our mats. We can bring our hands to the heart center, allow the eyes to close. Feel the breath come all the way from the belly to the collarbones. Exhale fully. Inhale completely and join me for one Om. Find your breath. Pay attention to the space between the palms. And then when you're ready, allow your eyes to gently, softly open, and we'll step to the front of the mat. So coming in deeper now, inhaling, arms up over the top of the head. Allow the shoulders to lift to the ears, creating that expansion in the side of the body like we looked at in our first vinyasa episode. With that expansion there, continue and begin to take a nice micro bend in the knees and reach forward with the heart. You can even round through the lower back by tucking in the lower ribs. So find that posture. And when you're ready, one more breath there, and then on your next exhale, you'll come down into a forward fold. So we'll pick up on the nutation, this creating expansion that we found by pressing the sitting bones farther away from one another. And then when you're ready, take your hands to the outside of your ankles and begin to literally press your ankles out into your hands. Resist back with your hands. And press your ankles. Press them into me harder, Danny. Yeah, that's it. You can do this at home. Notice that you're pressing your ankles into your own hands and start to notice that you feel something activating in the upper outside of the hip. This is our tensor fasciae lata muscle. It's the beginning of the IT band, and this is what assists with our forward folds. So notice that as you begin to activate, pressing out, you can find this muscle nice and strong. I can feel in Jonas's body that muscle is engaged. When you're ready, inhale up, forward, halfway. Keep that softness, that suppleness in the lower back. Tuck in the lower ribs and activate through the legs. And then exhale, forward fold. We're exploring through the body here, exploring this space. We'll be looking at mastery today. So step left foot back, and we'll get straight into a standing lunge. Do this by pulling the knees toward one another. We visited this in the last episode, creating space by engaging left glute. We'll release the front of the hip. Now I'm going to invite you, if you're flexible, if you've been practicing yoga for a while, lift your hips up a little higher away from the earth. You feel that power, Jonas? That's amazing. Pulling the knees toward one another. The hands can be down to the side. If you'd like to lift them up to the sky, you're welcome to do so. Squeezing the knees toward one another. And then exhale, bring the hands down, step the right foot back into plank. So looking once again at these major muscles of the body, I'm going to put my hands on the outside of your feet. At home, you can imagine my hands on the outside of your ankles. Press out side to side. Did you notice the change in her body? Tuck in the lower ribs, belly away from the earth. And then do the hands the same as your feet. Press out side to side. We're getting into both the deltoids of the legs and the deltoids of the arms. Tensor fasciae lata and deltoids. All right, I know that's probably a bit tough, so take your vinyasa, come to the tips of the toes, reach the heart forward, keep the belly away from the earth, and then inhale forward and up. Same thing with the hands, press them out to the side. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Take a nice deep inhale. Create some movement here in downward facing dog. If this is the first yoga asana class that you've done today, if you haven't watched the previous episodes, take your own time to warm up. If you'd like to move through a few sun salutations on your own, simply pause the video and come back to downward facing dog. We'll lift up the heels so we no longer see a crease in the front of the ankle and lower down until just before you see that crease. Work on the space that we've created. And here in downward facing dog, what happens if you were to press your heels apart from one another? So press your heels into my hands, your ankles out to the side. Keep that active. Tuck in the lower ribs. Beautiful. And notice this power that you created in your body. We'll take that power with us as we lift left leg nice and high. And then step left foot forward between the hands. Inhale up, standing lunge. Engage through right buttocks. Feel the release through the front of right thigh. So getting deeper into everything that we've reviewed in our previous episodes of Vinyasa Flow in this immersion series, you'll begin to really pull the knees toward one another, lifting the pelvis away from the earth. Engage through right buttocks. Feel the breath. If you'd like to reach the arms up over the top of the head, feel the length in the side body. Shoulders can come up toward the ears. Really feel that expansion. See the difference in your own body. Feel it both ways. There's no right or wrong in asana. It's what we feel. When you're ready, tuck in the lower ribs. Gently, slowly exhale. Bring the hands to the earth and step left foot back into plank. So press out into the outside edges of the heels. Feel the legs active. Yeah, tuck the lower ribs under. Press the hands into the earth, underside of the knuckles, make contact with the earth, and then keep the belly away from the floor and lower down through a vinyasa. Gorgeous. Exhale, forward and up. And then an upward dog, press out through hands and feet, and then exhale, use the abdomen to come back, downward facing dog. All right. So noticing the distance, making sure that we're in a nice wide-legged downward facing dog. So in our hatha variation of yogasana, quite often the hands and the feet are a bit closer. In true Ashtanga Vinyasa flow, we measure our down dog by coming to plank and coming back. Beautiful. So find that space that it creates in the body. Really press down into the underside of the knuckles. And we're going to begin to once again explore the forward fold by walking the hands back to the feet. Walking hands back to feet. Slight micro bend in the knees. And then once again, lift the arches of the feet and press the hands onto the ankles. Resist back, ankles side to side. Notice that you can use your abdominal center to deepen this forward fold and feel the outside of the leg turn on. Allow this muscle to activate by pressing out into the hands. Really feel it at home. Give yourself a little internal tug of war. That's what creates the power that we can pull up through the bandhas. This itself is a bandha or a lock. From here, gently, slowly bend the knees over the tips of the toes. Reach the arms forward and up and find Utkatasana, chair pose. So often you'll hear teachers talk about the tuck or the pointing out of the tailbone. Don't pay attention to your tailbone. Here we're going to look at the ribs. As we tuck in the lower ribs, yes, we see the tailbone tip into a perfect neutral direction. So let's see if we can see that over here on Jonas's body. If you want to lift your heart and find a curve in your back, lift your heart and find a curve toward your belly button toward the earth. So what I would call the incorrect way. Stick out your belly, and then we'll, beautiful, pull it back in, tuck in the lower ribs. There, that's your chair. One more breath because you're probably a bit sweaty here. Exhale, bring the hands to the heart center, and gently come back into your forward fold. All right, so working a lot with the body, we'll walk our hands forward, one body length. Fingertips on the earth, gently, slowly lift left leg toward the neighbor behind you or the back wall or wherever you are in your house. You can even use a wall here, pressing through the ankle, pressing through the heel. Beginning to activate through the foot, stabilizing through the outside of right hip. And for years, I remember being in Brooklyn in New York City, and I would stand against the wooden walls or maybe even the brick walls. I would put my foot there. I would have my friend measure my leg, and I would find the alignment of this pose. But you can find it on your own by tipping left pinky toe toward the earth and then tuck in the lower ribs to lift up through the lower back. Belly away from earth. Maybe you want to choose your drishti, your focal point, and bring your hands to heart center. Noticing where you are in your practice, warrior 3. From here, if you'd like to lift up, see what it would be like to come to standing and hug left knee into the chest. Find a new drishti, a new focal point. And notice if you fall out of it. That's part of the learning as well. One more breath here. And then gently and slowly we'll return. Warrior 3. Right fingertips to the earth, tips of the fingers. Gently open the hip. Left hip comes up toward the sky. We'll open left shoulder to follow. Start to use the outer bum muscles, the gluteus medius that we visited earlier in the immersion series for standing balances, and use that muscle to lift the leg even higher. Left arm comes up to the sky. Your gaze can be down, it can be out in front of you, or up overhead. Just find one point. We'll take a nice deep inhale, and then left arm over the top of the head. Come into a standing split. Use right leg nice and strong, belly nice and strong, left buttocks nice and strong. Press up through left foot. And gently and slowly either lower the leg, or if you're at the front of the mat, you can take a vinyasa. Here we'll inhale up halfway, slight micro bend in the knees. Exhale, plant the hands at the front of the mat, step the feet back. Use your belly away from the floor, lower ribs tucking in. Exhale, move through a vinyasa. Exhaling back, downward facing dog. Deep inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. Those of you at home, feel free to pause the video, place your knees on the earth, take a child's pose. A few breathers. We'll move on here. When you're ready, left arm, left leg lifts over the top of the head. We step left leg forward between the hands. We'll get into our warrior 3 by creeping the fingertips one body length forward, reaching right foot back. Now find this alignment. Both the hips are even. It's as if you could set a teacup here. So we'll begin to pay attention to right pinky toe lowering. Right pinky toe lowering. Maybe you could even imagine me at home with you there, and I'm asking you to press the right ankle into my hand. Press the right ankle into my hand, Jonas. Yeah, you feel that? Starting to activate the side of the leg, really helping with this pose. Press back through the heel as well. Reach forward through the heart. Maybe if you want, start to activate through the lower abdominal center and the outside of left thigh. See if you can choose a drishti, a focal point, and lift up into the balance with hands at heart center. So we're just exploring here. Staying with the breath, staying nice and slow. Activating through the back foot, reaching simultaneously backward and forward through the heart. Start to lift, Mula Bandha, engage, and come up to standing, hugging right knee into the chest. Make sure that the outside of left hip is nice and active. Find the breath. Find your drishti, your focal point. One more breath here, and then lift Mula Bandha once again. Activate through outside of left hip. Come back into warrior 3, and then transition down into standing split. Forward fold here. Right buttocks lifts the right leg even higher. You can press out through the big toe mound. Press into my finger. Yeah, feel that extension. One more breath, lifting the leg a little higher, engaging right buttocks. It's okay if the hips open. And then gently and slowly place right leg down alongside the left. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. This time, heel toe, the toes off the mat, the heels on the edge of the mat, and we'll find malasana. Beginning to really use the muscles of the legs to deepen the experience of opening the hips. Spread the toes out nice and wide. If you'd like, bring the elbows on the inside of the knees. Close the eyes. Set the toes back on the earth, still nice and active. Lift up through the arches of the feet. And in Malasana, you can press back through your knees and start to activate your glutes and feel this pose deepening, using our muscles to create more space and mastery in our practice. When you're ready, squeeze the glutes a little bit more. Press the knees behind you a little bit more. Feel the depth, toning the muscles on the outside of the hip. From here, we'll place the hands into the earth And we'll gently begin to straighten the legs, even out, outside edges of the feet parallel to the outside of the mat. Inhale up halfway, pull navel towards spine, tuck in the lower ribs. Exhale, forward fold, press out through the sides of the ankles. Bow down, and feel how a wide-legged forward fold feels a little bit different. Now I'm going to throw in something that we forgot in the last flow. It was the Ardha Chandrasana, or half moon. So to do that, step left foot to the center of the mat. You can lift up through Warrior 3, Virabhadrasana 3. Feel the same application of tucking in the lower ribs, and then gently open the right hip up to the sky, activating through left toe, engaging the outside of right buttocks, really pressing into right heel. So press into my foot, and reach forward through the heart. If you'd like, bring the right arm up to the sky. Drishti focal point can be down at the earth, forward in front of you, or up high. Notice that the more you activate the gluteus medius, the stabilizer of any kind of balance, the more we can lift up to the sky the lifted leg. One more breath here. We're sweating, I know. Gently, slowly, right arm over the top of the head. Come through your standing split if you'd like, and we'll flow into our next pose from here. So step right foot back behind you and prepare for Warrior 1. In Vinyasa, the warrior pose is a little more distance between the feet. If you want to shuffle forward onto your mat, you're welcome to do so. Front knee directly over the front ankle. We're going to play with the theme of, imagine if I had my right hand on your right ankle and my left hand could reach forward to the outside of your left ankle. I want you to press your feet open to the sides. See how that feels? That's going to indicate something to the outside of right hip, engaging right buttocks and steering the hips forward. So we've seen a massive, incredible improvement in Danny's posture through paying attention to these muscles, major muscles of movement. One more breath here, Warrior 1. When you're ready, gently, slowly, inhale, straighten the front leg, and we'll open up to a Trikonasana. So lift all 10 toes off the earth, spread them out nice and wide, reach forward, keeping the right hip nice and back. Start to engage left buttocks. That allows the front of left hip to release. Tuck in the lower ribs, and then keep your body where it is and simply shift your arms. Left hand will fall somewhere beneath left knee. So I'm going to bring you back a little bit. For most people out there, you'll find that the left hand will be just below the knee, and you can use the resistance between hand and leg. So place your hand on the lower leg, just below the knee, and find how much more space this gives you. You lean back so that your body's in one plane of motion. So lean back into my hand, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, as if she had two glass panes around her. And then tuck in the lower ribs here, and feel that activation through the legs, thighs pulling upward. Beautiful. Trikonasana. We'll take one more breath here. And then gently, slowly, left arm comes forward over the top of the head. So I want you to stay here in the middle for a moment, feeling the side stretch, reaching the heart out. And then when you're ready, reach the heart forward toward the front of the mat. Feel the hips begin to square. And step right hand down, come to the outside edge of the right foot. And you can be in a little twisted pose here, releasing the piriformis muscle, a deep muscle in the inside of left foot. Left hip, not the foot. How's that feel? Do you guys feel it? Left hip, whoosh. When you're ready, step left foot back alongside the right. It's okay if you fall out of it when you're stepping. Find Vashisthasana. And then start to use the same theme of pressing the feet away from one another. So active. Beautiful. Lift the hips up. That's your strength. That's your power. Left arm over the top of the head. Take a vinyasa. Beautiful. Keep the belly away from the earth as you move down through Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale forward and up. And press the underside of the knuckles down. Really use your hands here. That's what I'm going to want you to start working on at home and here on the mat. All right. When we're ready, we step right foot forward between the hands. Inhale up, Warrior 1. Warrior 1, we start to do that same experiment. My hands are on the outside of both ankles. Of course, you're pressing down to the outside edge of back left foot. Come wide, pressing out. Both feet opposite side to side into the earth and scraping out to the side. Find how that steers left hip forward. The engagement of left buttocks does as well. Warrior 1. Here you can, of course, reach up, shoulders up. Find the length in the side body. Yeah, feel that. Stabilize down into the earth. Shoulders can come all the way up to the ears. Find the length between the ribs. And then if you'd like to drop them, see how it indicates your neck. If your neck is tight, simply pull or push your armpits forward. One more breath here. And then, when you're ready, gently, slowly come down. And we'll transition a different way into Trikonasana. And I want to do this so that you feel the positioning of right hand on the lower right leg, just below the knee. Feel that there. And then inhale, peel left arm up toward the sky. Activate through all 10 toes. Lift them up. Spread them out nice and wide. Place them down. Feel that you're pushing down simultaneously as you're being pulled up. As you indicate lower ribs to tuck in. Yes, we find that strength, Uddiyana Bandha. One more breath here. Trikonasana, triangle posture. And then gently, slowly, left arm over the top of the head. Find the length in left side body. Keep the lower ribs tucked in so the strength is there, front of the thighs engaged. And then square just the shoulders down toward the earth. Keep the hips open. And then square the hips down to the earth. We'll place the hands on the ground, moment in pyramid posture. And then when you're ready, come to the outside edge of left foot, step right foot back, find Vashisthasana, side plank. Making any modifications that you need, one foot in front of the other, or stepping right sole of the foot to the ground, knees bent. Start to tuck in lower ribs. Say to yourself, yes, I can. Notice if the mind wants to come out of it. Tuck in the lower ribs, lift the hips, and then gently, slowly, right arm over the top of the head, working with range of motion. When you move through this chaturanga, both ankles and wrists press out to the side. Inhale forward and up. In up dog, scoot or sweep the arms away from one another, and same with the legs. Feel that power as we engage the deltoid of the arm and the tensor fascia lata of the legs. And then use that power and the abdominal center to come back downward facing dog. This is mastery of the practice. Both of your breaths, and hopefully your breath also at home, is calm and slow. When you're ready, gently allow the knees to come to the earth. Press back, hips to heels. Find child's pose. And in this variety, if you'd like, you can try it open or closed. When you're in a closed-kneed child's pose, that will allow for release of the lower back and release of the upper back when we have a nice open, wide kneed. Take a few breaths here. And if you feel that your nervous system has gotten ahead of you at all, you can access a reset to the parasympathetic nervous system mode by gently rocking the forehead side to side upon the mat. Really nice and slow. Always stay in tune with your nervous system in your yoga practice. That's what makes this yoga, not gymnastics. Beautiful. Allow any sounds to come out through the mouth. Just releasing, letting go. Any pent-up energy from the muscular engagement of this practice is allowed to dissolve. So gently, slowly, as you're ready, walk your fingers back toward your knees. You bring the knees together and we'll find, once again, our Vajrasana, thunderbolt posture. And so if this is comfortable for you, stay here. If you'd like to put a bolster or a prop under your bum to make it a little easier. Otherwise, you're always welcome to come to sit cross-legged. So in a cross-legged position or seated back upon your heels, we're going to try what we opened this episode with, this Om. But we'll do it with and without the pelvic floor engaged. And so when you're ready, I'd like you to begin to lift the pelvic floor. If you don't know what this means, then I invite you, seated back on the heels, to just lift your bums so as if they're floating away from your heels. You'll start to notice some muscles engage. If you can't stay there, it might be because your quadriceps are overly working. But if you simply come up through the base of your pelvis, this is the muscles of the pelvic floor, the perineum. So see if you can float there a little bit longer. Feel that muscular engagement. That's not the thighs. Keep that engaged and then sink the bum back down onto the heels. With that pelvic floor lifting, gently exhale. Inhale fully, and we'll come into our Om once again. With Mula Bandha engaged, pelvic floor lifting, exhale fully, inhale. Gently release the pelvic floor. You can open the eyes and notice what that felt like. Notice where the vibration resonated inside of you. If it was louder, perhaps if you felt a bit stronger through engaging Mula Bandha when you're in your sounding practice. From here, we'll look at Uddiyana Bandha, the upward flying lock. This is a tucking in of the lower ribs. So notice what it feels like to jut the ribs out in front of you, almost come into a back bend. Now do the absolute opposite of that, taking the lower ribs and tucking them in. Tucking them in, you'll begin to feel a slight round in the lower back. And you can still tuck them in and then lift up vertically through the heart. So tuck in the lower ribs and lift up vertically through the heart. Tuck in the lower ribs, lift up vertically through the heart. So not leaning back, simply lifting vertically, tucking in lower ribs. Do you feel that muscular kind of negotiation that's happening in your body? Fantastic. From here, we're going to practice jumping forward from downward facing dog with and without these bandhas that we've just learned. So when you're ready, we're just going to jump forward. Forget about the muscular movement. You can inhale, lift the hips nice and high, and then jump forward between your hands. See how loud it is, see how it feels, see how you go. When you're ready, come on, step back, downward facing dog. This time we'll pay attention. Inhale, lift up through the heels. Start to engage the pelvic floor. Lift those pelvic floor muscles of the perineum. Tuck in the lower ribs. And on your exhale, jump forward between your hands. Oh yeah. Did that feel different to you students? Did it feel different to anyone at home? Go ahead and do it a few more times. Stepping back, starting to lift the pelvic floor, tuck in the lower ribs, and find the silent jump up to the top of the mat. Find the lightness in the body, find the mastery over this physical vehicle that our spirit drives through life. One more time, you can step back or jump back. Keeping a nice micro bend in both the knees and the elbows. Lift the pelvic floor, tuck in the lower ribs, engage Mula and Uddiyana Bandha. Bandha is lock. This is a lock, a seal of energy. When you're ready, jump forward. Beautiful, Jonas. Big, big change. We see this practice shifting and the mastery begin. So here in a forward fold, press out through the ankles. Same thing we've already worked on. Inhale, forward and up to standing. And we'll exhale, hands into heart center. Heel toe, toes off the mat. Heels at the edge of the mat. And gently lower down. Malasana, yogic squat. So in Malasana, this is another great place where we can find Mula Bandha. So to do this, all you'll have to do is start to press your heels inward and forward and see how that feels. You'll notice a lifting. Do you feel it? That lift in the pelvic floor simply by tucking the heels inward and forward energetically. Lift in the pelvic floor. Allow that to actually lift your heart, lift your body. This is the lightness that we find in Yogasana. Hands at heart center. Try to lift up a little vertical through the heart. Vertical. Think vertical, not out or back, but vertical. Through this, we'll plant the hands. Allow the knees to come up high toward the armpits. You can come through crow if you'd like. And we'll explore a little bit more. Mula Uddiyana Bandha. Belly away from the floor. This pose has very little to do with arm strength. If you'd like, you can jump back through a vinyasa and jump back straight into chaturanga. I looked up to see what Danny was doing. But you'll jump back directly with your elbows bent. Mula Uddiyana Bandha, gorgeous. Take a vinyasa if you'd like. Good. And then when you're ready, allow your knees to come back to the mat. Forehead rests on the earth. And we'll find child's pose. And child's pose is where we find our third bandha, the major locks in the body in vinyasa flow. We have here the chin equally tucked toward the neck. This is what we call jalandhara bandha, or net holding lock. It's as if I were holding a net with my two hands, and I held the center with my chin. It's a evening out through the back of the head, a lengthening through the cervical spine, so there's still a slight curve, but it allows for height. And this bandha is what allows us to do headstands and press up into the crown of the head. And so feel this naturally existing here in child's pose. If you'd like, you're welcome to remain here in balasana, or gently press back, uncurl, and lay back into shavasana. Namaste.